practice is defined as the breaking down of a skill into smaller units.
The complexity of the skill helps an individual figure out whether they are going to teach a skill in its entirety or whether it is to be broken down into smaller units. Part practice is said to be used when a task has a high complexity and low organisation.
When teaching young children, it can be seen that part practice is more appropriate to teach children how to complete a task.
One method of part practice involves a skill being broken down into segments and then practiced until it can be completed properly before moving on to the next part of the skill. This is called segmentation. When teaching children to play basketball, there are a range of skills that can be taught as part practice. When learning to pass, children need to firstly be able to correctly place their hands on the ball. Once this has been learnt, the children needs to be taught to step forward with their preferred leg. Once these two factors have been learnt and can be conducted properly, the child then needs to learn to push the ball forward into their partner's chest. This is practice until it can be done correctly. Then all factors are put together to form one skill. Segmentation can also be used when they are learning to dribble at the ball. They firstly learn how to bounce the ball in a stationary position. When this is achieved, they can begin to walk around while dribbling. Again, once this is able to be completed, they are able to go into running when dribbling the ball.
Hey presto.
Hey presto!
When looking at part practice, a simplification approach can be very useful. As the name suggests, it's a way to simplify the movement or part of a skill. This can be done in many different ways. By reducing the difficulty of the objects or equipment used. For example, in footy, young athletes use different types of balls to make it easier during a game. Another way to simplify an action is to reduce the speed. When looking at a football kick, one can reduce the speed of an action to increase the sense of memory. This will allow patterns to be made and actions to become almost natural. It can also heighten the player's awareness of a kick to make the action have a rhythmic pattern. Simplification in sports such as footy can use simulators and virtual reality. This is highly effective as footy simulators can determine how much power will be generated in kick and how their leg position will affect where the ball goes. Footy is a very useful example in part practice and simplification, as it allows for a sequence of actions to be looked at and observed.
Fractionalisation can be used as one of the three combinations to make up the whole practice technique in learning a new skill acquisition. Fractionalisation is practicing each segment before you combine all of the movements. For example, when it comes to a tennis serve, an individual would first off begin by practicing and figuring out how to grip the racket correctly. They would then move into working on their ball toss. When it comes to the toss itself, it is very important to figure out how high the ball needs to be thrown and in making sure it is kept in front of them so they do not lose sight of the ball. Finally, they would identify the motion of the actual serve itself. Once the timing of the arm following through is mastered, they can then combine all three movements into one continuous action. Most skills require simultaneously moving their arms and legs to achieve a goal. It is important that you remember that limbs like to work together to achieve the desired task and allows the actions to be performed correctly. When they are all in unison, an individual may have a skill where each arm or leg does something different from the other arm or leg. In this case, the individual needs to consider that they use the fractionalisation approach.
Okay. No more swearing, no more phones. We're good?
Nope.